he came really the hardest, I think, of anyone thus far today in the questioning. And at one point he says, Judge, with all due respect, quote, I'll be direct with you. I am questioning your judgment. That's what I'm doing. I'm questioning not your excellence as a judge, but you had discretion. And he argues she used it wrongly in those very tough cases regarding basically the abuse of children in photography that then is used as quote unquote child pornography. Walk us through that. And for viewers who might have been watching and said, gosh, where's this coming from? What is this all about? All your analysis, please, Yodit.
Listen, for anybody to suggest that Judge Jackson would condone or be soft on those who abuse children it's just utterly ridiculous, okay? No one knows Judge Jackson's case file better than her. And for Holly to suggest that all she needs is a sentencing guideline is misinformed. And Judge Jackson threw it back to Congress and said, you laid out factors for judges to consider. And it doesn't just stop at sentencing guidelines. We have to actually factor in the circumstances and the nature of each case. You can't treat cases as a one size fits all. And Judge Jackson said it best. This isn't a numbers game, but let's just take this all back, though, Ari. At the end of the day, there is a coalition, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the nation's leading voice against domestic abuse, endorsed Judge Jackson. So there's no argument they need to move on.
Yeah, you mentioned that, the police cred that she has as well as a positive statement from the Fraternal Order of Police. And she really parried a lot of this really well, as I mentioned, just with our coverage of the other guests. Che, I go to you not for the law of it, but the politics of it, which was not on the menu, but seemed all over the place with senators ordering off the menu and bringing in the politics. What did you think of what the Republican Party was doing today, and did they land their goals, even if they didn't move any votes against her?
No, I thought this was a terrible messaging fail on the part of the GOP. I thought the questions were all over the place, and I think their initial strategy, which was basically to link CRT to Judge Jackson. You know, E.J. Dionne said, I don't know if she was a black woman, if she would get all these questions about CRT. I'll say conclusively right now, this is about her being a black woman, and this is about basically casting her as a radical, as a black radical who is out to get white people. That is specifically what they have tried to do. That is specifically what the CRT attacks are trying to do. They are trying to build on what Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia last November and really linking that to Judge Jackson. And so the RNC today just tweeted out this little meme saying KBJ should be CRT. That is specifically what the strategy is. The problem has been that only Marsha Blackburn and Ted Cruz really seem to have gotten the memo and are staying on this point. The rest of the senators appear to be departing from these talking points for very good reasons. It's really ugly. I mean, quite frankly, it looked like I saw Ted Cruz commit a hate crime in that hearing room. It was McCarthyism at its worst, where he was sort of insinuating that just because she was on this Georgetown day school board, that she's responsible for every little thing in every little book that's being written there. You know, spoiler alert, Judge Jackson is not going to the Supreme Court to call babies racist. That is not what she's going to be doing. But that is exactly what Ted Cruz wants to do. He wants to gin up white grievance. Him and Marsha Blackburn, the GOP, want to gin up white grievance ahead of the midterm and link Judge Jackson to that cause. It really was, frankly, disgusting and ugly to watch.
Yeah, that's your strong take on it. And Yodit, I want to bring you into that because the entire obsession here with what is fundamentally a graduate education pedagogy, something that is a part of a somewhat obscure, but a part of academics, and that was sort of thrown at her as if this was relevant. It does seem a reach, as Che says, that relates potentially to the identity, the race of the nominee, which should be out of bounds. And second, it seems like a reach because she's a sitting judge. So if you want to talk about civil rights law or affirmative action or any number of those types of issues, there would be a more substantive way to get to it. Yodit, as Che emphasizes, that's not how Senator Cruz did it, and that's why it seemed really absurdist, if it wasn't so serious, but McCarthyist to say, oh, because you were affiliated with a school that might have had this book, here's the baby cartoon, have you or did you ever get involved in these children's books. And you sort of say, what decade is it?
And you notice that Judge Jackson had to pause, take a deep breath, and always addressed each senator by saying respectfully. Understand that this is an overqualified candidate, right, who had to remain calm, cool, collected, knowledgeable, professional in the face of underqualified men who were throwing irrelevant and uninformed attacks on everything but what she was there to do. And she did a great job by saying, listen, none of that has anything to do with why I'm here. None of that has anything to do with my job as a judge. And so this was just a desperate attempt by these Republicans who knew that they have absolutely nothing. I mean, Judge Jackson is basically unimpeachable, right? She's had over 500 decisions that she's made. She's had pages and pages of rulings. In an attempt to be transparent, she wanted people to understand why she made decisions the way that she did. None of these senators, you can tell, read those decisions. They were misinformed. They were trying to misinform and confuse the American people rather than honestly rallying behind one of the most qualified individuals for the high court. And instead, political posturing is what you got.
And we're watching the committee room here. Folks may recall that Chairman Durbin is going to bring back the committee into session here after their vote, and we will cut in the moment that happens to bring it to viewers live. Che, we talked about what the Republicans are doing. What do you think the Biden White House is getting out of this thus far? What are they thinking, given that you've worked with some of those folks?
I think this has been a tremendous win for Joe Biden, and quite frankly, he really needs it. It's been a very tough couple of months for Joe Biden and for the Biden White House. This is an outstanding nominee. I think she has shown poise and grace, and it is really, she's a great face for the kinds of people that Joe Biden and the White House want to bring into the U.S. government. And what a contrast it is from, say, Brett Kavanaugh. And I think that was a very good point that was just made about how she kept such great poise. You know, she could not do what Brett Kavanaugh did. She is not allowed as a black woman to do that. I felt a tremendous anger watching Ted Cruz's questions directed at her. I can only imagine what black women across America felt when they saw those questions directed at her. But boy, she showed a lot of calm, a great demeanor. And Ted Cruz wanted the Brett Kavanaugh moment. He wanted to have that so he could use that to leverage that to help try to sink this nomination in some way. But she didn't give it to him. And I think all credit to her and all credit to the Biden White House for putting forward a great nominee.
Yeah, and with the caveat that I will have to jump in if the senator starts speaking, they're watching Durbin. Go ahead, Yodit.
No, Ari, I just wanted to say, Che, thank you for saying that, because this black woman trope that we're angering when we try to assert ourselves is something that I'm sure Judge Jackson has to really tread lightly on, and she's done such a remarkable job so far.
Yeah, and I see we're watching the chairman there. He's refueling, and it is a long day. I see some what appear to be mixed nuts and some water. That's part of the reporting. Yodit, again, in the moment until we start, what did you think of that long pause? On social media, many people, not just people in politics or the public realm, but people talked about in their workplace, recognizing the pause and the way she felt she had to conduct herself.
I mean, we couldn't conduct ourselves the way Brett Kavanaugh did, right? He became emotional because if we were to become emotional, we'd be unhinged. We'd be angry black women. And that side was something that we could all, black women, really relate to at work in corporate America, that microaggression that we always have to really recognize and be very careful in addressing, because again, we are the ones to blame and not the actual aggressor. So she basically let out a sigh that we all did, and we could all relate. And that was a moment I think that she deserved a breather and to really collect herself and really think to herself, how do I dress this individual and also maintain this temperament that a Supreme Court justice is supposed to have? And that's why she's such a great nominee.